IVM.
Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashtin Doctor, your habit coach. And today we have a very, very special episode. I've been wanting to have someone discuss Vedanta on the podcast for a very long time because Vedanta gave me a different philosophy when I was passing through something in my life. And it really gave me a different perspective of thinking. And I've always wanted to have a guest over to discuss this and share this with everybody and the listeners. So super excited to have our guest today, Gautam Ji, who's joining us for this podcast. So Gautam Ji, welcome to the Habit Coach podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashton. Happy to be here.
So Gautam Ji, can you explain to us, what is Vedanta? What is it that you do and how can we start understanding this subject?
See, the word Vedanta actually is a combination of two words in Sanskrit, Veda and Anta. So Veda means wisdom, knowledge, and Anta means the end, the culmination, the ultimate, the finality. So the literal meaning of the word Vedanta is the ultimate wisdom, the highest knowledge. And when you ask me what really is it, it is nothing but the principles of living.
Wow.
Another word for Vedanta, some of you may have heard, is Sanatana Dharma. What does that mean? Sanatana means eternal. Dharma means the principles, the truths, right? So these are nothing but eternal truths of life, which one can really use in your day-to-day living to find peace, to find productivity and success. And ultimately, everybody wants true satisfaction and fulfillment, right? What's the use of being successful or when you can't find satisfaction within yourself? So that's why it's the highest knowledge in a nutshell, because it gives you what you want. It's not that somebody is saying it's the highest knowledge. It tells you how you can be peaceful, how you can be successful, and how you can find meaning and purpose in your life.
Actionable path to this idea of meaning and purpose and the way of living that exists. How did you find out and how did you get onto this path?
See, I was, you're in Mumbai, right?
I'm in Mumbai.
Yeah. So I was born and brought up in Mumbai.
Okay.
And I came to the US as a 17-year-old to do my undergraduate education. And I was never really interested in Vedanta before that. But my senior year in college, I mean the fourth year, the final year of college, when I was getting all these job offers and, had a lot of very, very lucrative offers from Wall Street and so on. And a thought came to me, why am I doing this for? What is life really all about? It can't be just having a lot of money and a house and a swimming pool. There's got to be more to life than that. So my mother used to attend my guru, Swami Parthasarathy's lecture. He's actually based in Mumbai. Our academy is near Mumbai, near Lonavala. And I spoke to him because I knew of him through my mother. And he went through the same thing 50 years ago. He was educated in England and dedicated his life to this study. So what he said resonated with me. And as soon as my college got over, I decided to come back to the academy, again, which is near Lonavala in India. And I spent 10 years there, full time, from the age of 21 to 31, studying Vedanta full time and researching it, going deeper, teaching it a little bit. And then right now I'm talking to you from the US, from the New York area. So about 15, 16 years ago, my guru told me, he got sick and tired of me at the academy. I was there 10 years, right? And he said, why don't you go to the US and start our work there? So I head Vedanta USA, the US part of our work.
Wow.
And I teach and live here now.
Fantastic. So when people go on to this path, is it necessary to come to stay and do the 10-year, learning that you did? Is it something that is practical that you can put along with your life as well, that you're currently living, family, etc., etc.? How does that work?
Yeah, of course. See, what I did was, it's not meant for the average person, right? Obviously, you can't take off. It's a 3-year course, by the way. I stayed for 10 years for further deeper study. But a person like you, for example, you want to learn Vedanta, you have a job, you have a family, you have commitments. Obviously, you can't do it full time, take off and do it. So Vedanta is a very practical knowledge which you can learn. I would say if you dedicate 45 minutes to an hour every morning, that's good enough. So we have particular courses and a methodology for you to learn this knowledge where you are and apply it in your day-to-day life directly, of course. So all my students here, for example, I teach so many people here in the US, and none of them have left and gone to the academy, right? They're all learning and benefiting. So it's very practical. Don't have to worry about that. That's see, it's like a scientist, a scientist secludes himself, goes into the laboratory like Edison secluded himself, 10,000 experiments he did and discovered the bulb, right? Now, you don't have to do that to get a bulb. You just use it and you go buy it and put it in your living room, right? Same thing. So we are doing the research on it, but it's meant for all of you to live in your day-to-day life. So no worries there.
That's so beautiful. How do you start on this path? So are there principles that you follow? Are there important key ideas that we can discuss in this podcast that put everything in perspective for the journey in Vedanta?
Yes, of course. See, now how you start is by first understanding the basics, right? The basic fundamental truth which we are trying to explain here is, okay, let me give you an example. It's much easier to do it that way. Now, the first time you got a smartphone, did you know how to operate it? See, you had to go through the manual, you had to go online, see what are the various steps and all, right? I recently got a new car, amount of controls and this is like flying an airplane now. It's
correct.
But you got to know it, right? So you got to learn it. So you forget about the latest car, even when you learned driving all those years ago. Somebody had to teach you, right? So you have a manual for your car, you have a manual for your phone, you have a manual for your refrigerator. Where's the manual for your life? You got to understand it that way. Who's taught you how to live? So the basic premise you have to understand, when I say you, I mean the world, your listeners, is correct. Living is an art. It's a skill. It's a technique which has to be learned and practiced. So not knowing how to live and living your life, which everybody is doing, is like not knowing how to drive and driving a car. You will crash. And that's what you said. There's a depression, there's stress, there's addictions, there's divorces. Why? Because nobody has been taught how to live. So the first thing to understand about Vedanta or life in general is we have to learn how to live it. So Vedanta is nothing but the principles, the manual for your life. Beautiful. So that's how you start. First, understand you don't know how to live. You could be a most successful person. You could be biggest CEO. You could be a president or anybody. Nobody knows how to live. So everybody's stressed out.
Yeah, especially because we keep thinking that living is all about finding your success and going from one success to the next, to the next, to the next. And it becomes this hamster wheel that we end up coming on. And we think that is life. And we think that, that end point is coming and approaching, and that is all that we have. And that's all that we're going to be doing. So true. Right. That nobody teaches us what life is and what life can be lived as. So
yeah, see, there's a great French philosopher, Sartre, Jean-Paul Sartre. And he says, everything has been figured out except how to live. Everything has been figured out except how to live. So you figure out everything about your life except how to live it. What's the point? So, very interesting. The other day I was driving here in New York down the turnpike. The turnpike means the main expressway here. And normally you see these big hoardings, billboards, and you'll see it on insurance or Pepsi or, something like that. Do you know what I saw? 3 consecutive billboards. First billboard was, what is this? Antidepressant. Are you having trouble sleeping? No, not antidepressant, sleeping tablet. We can help you sleep. Huge billboard, like Pepsi and Coke, they're advertising. And the second, I said, my God, what's going on? And then I went down a few miles, second billboard. Do you have addiction? This rehab center, literally on the highway. And the third was the best, best in the sense is the worst. I'm not happy about it, but it was betterwaytodivorce.com.
Oh, wow.
Better way to do. You see it. Go to the website. You'll know what I'm talking. So, this is the condition, right? This is the most advanced part of the world, apparently. And this is where there's so much stress and agitation, And it's not just individual. Look at the world. There's terrorism, there's war, there's corruption, greed. It's destroying everything. So the first thing, coming back to your question, is one has to understand that, look, I may be a very successful person, I may be highly educated, I may be qualified, but I don't know how to live. So the biggest impediment in this field is everybody believes they know how to live. If you go to your neighbor and saying, look, I'm learning how to live, he'll laugh at you. You don't know how to live, man. You're 40 years old, you don't know how to live. Just because you live 30, 40, 50, 60 years, everybody believes they know. So first principle is, I don't know. I need to learn. Okay,
Awesome.
That's how you start.
So what would this perfect life or beautiful life even look like? I was just thinking about it while you were discussing the hoardings, and we are so familiar with the current reality. What would this, if we knew how to live, what would this perfect life look like?
See, perfection boils down to one thing and one thing alone: control over your own mind. Remember that. You control your mind, you control your life. See, for example, there is nothing wrong with earning money, right? Everybody wants to earn money, nothing wrong with that. But the problem is, if you lose control over your desire for money, it becomes greed. Once it becomes greed, you're in trouble. See, there was a guy here in the springtime earlier this year. He went from 20 billion here in New York to zero in 2 days. Have you ever heard? You read it in the Wall Street Journal. 20 billion to zero in 2 days. That was the headline. This is greed. So the problem is, nothing wrong with money. People believe Vedanta means you should not earn more. Nothing like that. But don't lose control over your emotion. That becomes greed. You want to enjoy a drink with your friends. Nothing wrong with that. But you lose control. You become an alcoholic. So a perfect life is one where you're not only acting outside perfectly, whatever work you're doing, but you have a perfectly controlled mind with it. So it is your mind which is destroying you. Don't blame the world. See, John Milton says that the mind is its own place. It makes a heaven out of hell, a hell out of heaven. So it's your mind. So that's what perfection looks like. Perfect control over your own emotions.
Perfect control over your emotions. And I remember when we were discussing Vedanta in the past, there's this whole concept between the intellect, and we talk about the intellect very, very particularly. Can you define the intellect and what that is for our listeners?
Yeah, I was just going to come to that. That's the next thing. So the mind, what we were talking about, the mind consists of emotions, feelings, desires, likes and dislikes. So this entire part of you is called the mind. Now, what Vedanta has very carefully defined, which seems very simple, but nowhere in the world have they defined it. Everybody believes mind includes intellect. It's not the same. Intellect is your capacity to reason, to think, to judge, and then act. So self-control means self-management, which is what we talk about in the corporates also, right? Is the control of the intellect controlling the mind. See, I'll give an example again. It becomes very simple. You're driving down the road, right? And your phone pings. There's a message come. What does your mind feel like doing? You feel like picking up your phone and looking at it. It's just a feeling. But your intellect has to be strong enough. You're driving on a highway. You can't look at your phone. Your intellect is not strong. You start looking at your phone, your whole life can be destroyed in 1 second. 1,000 accidents a day here in the US, either fatal or serious, is because of texting and driving. What is this? Basic intellect doesn't function. So intellect is the capacity to govern your emotion, to control your mind. See, I had a student of mine, this is many years ago. He told me he got fired from a very big job he has in Wall Street, a very lucrative job. He said he got fired because he lost his temper at his boss. Now, he tells me 4.5 years he couldn't get a job because the boss is a very powerful man, and he made sure, 4.5 years. He says, I wish I had just kept quiet at that time. My whole life would have been different. What happened? The mind felt the anger. He couldn't control. The intellect was weak. And here is a highly educated person. He lost his temper, lost his job, lost his life. Literally took him 10 years to come back to where he was. For what? For that one little emotional outburst, right? So every day is this happening. The mind is taking over and everybody is getting stressed out, agitated.
Is this something that has only started happening recently, where people are just living from the mind where the intellect didn't exist or doesn't exist in some of us? Or is it something that has been happening for centuries?
No, this has been happening for centuries. It's just getting accentuated far more now because the mind, there was at least some sort of control instilled when you were younger, right? You can't just see now there is no training at all to control the mind. So the kids are have no intellect at all functioning.
Correct.
This is the problem. So earlier, because of the culture, especially in India, there was some sort of self-control, there was some idea of sharing, there was some idea of duties versus rights. So there was a control, and that's why people were relatively peaceful. Now there's no control. So the intellect has to be developed on an emergency basis. Emergency, literally.
Are there a couple of things that our listeners can start doing or practicing in order to start strengthening the intellect, or at least awakening it, comparing it, using it compared to their mind?
Yes, of course. That is the whole purpose of Vedanta, is to give you a powerful intellect. See, what you need to do is, the intellect is like physical exercise. It's like how you strengthen your muscles. Suppose you have weak muscles. You have muscles, but they're weak. How do you strengthen them? You have to exercise them, not once a year. New Year's Day, I took a resolution, I'll exercise. By 5th January, it's over. It's not going to help, right? It's a regular routine practice. Similarly, there's a regular routine practice. You have to think, you have to question, you have to examine your life all the time. You have to question what you're doing. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Like Plato says, that life which is unexamined is not worth living. The life which is unexamined is not worth living. So you have to examine your life. That is what develops your intellect. And you may say, don't people do that? Nobody does it. Everybody functions on what is called as herd instinct. You understand herd instinct?
Absolutely.
You went to school, right? Ask them, why did you go to school? If I ask you,
everyone was doing it.
Everyone went to school. What sort of a stupid question are you? Then what did you do? College. Why? Everybody goes to college. How can you not go to college? Do you know 6 out of the top 10 richest people in the world today either did not go to college or dropped out? You know that? What college? And I'm not saying you should not go, but question. Then what did you do? That is a mistake. I agree. I got married. Why did you get married? After college job, what else to do? Then what did you do? Children. Why do you do children? After marriage job, what else do you do? Right? I'm not saying you should not have children or not get married. Do it by all means. But think, why am I doing it? What am I doing? See, the worst thing is this religion. I'm not saying religion is bad, but how it's practiced. At the age of 6 or 7, a person says, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim. On what basis? Does anybody, question what is their religion? No. And whole life you're willing to hate people because they're from a different religion. Today, that's not the scope here, Ashton, but that's my real subject. I can prove it to you in their own words. All the prophets of all the religions said exactly the same thing. What are you fighting about? Herd instinct, just herd instinct. So nobody questions. See, you're asking me, how does Vedanta apply practically, right? If you question, you will be brilliant. You will be successful in your work. You know that?
Yeah.
So what I mean is, you were there, right? The time when the CDs were there, correct?
Absolutely.
Music CDs. What was the whole music industry doing? How do you make a bigger CD, a better CD, a denser CD? One person questioned, why should there be a CD? iPod, right? You all know, changed the whole world. Whole world was changed. One question. This is intellect. How many times have we taken a taxi or a cab in our life? Billions of people have taken cabs, billions of times. One person questioned, why should we look for the cab? Why can't the cab come to me? That's Uber. Changed the whole world. Now you don't need a car. You're in Mumbai, right? No, you don't need a car. We call the Uber. Who wants to deal with parking and all that? What I'm trying to say is, it's the questioning that builds your intellect. So you need to start questioning. So there are books which my guru has written. He's 94 now, going strong, still working. And throughout his life, he's done research on this and written some books which I'll talk about, which you can use to strengthen your intellect. Just have to read it. Early in the morning, you start and read it. There are lectures we have all over the world by our alumni who've been taught personally by him in Mumbai, in Pune. And I'm talking about India. I'm here in the US, of course, in the US. So there's a lot of things one can do to start this process, which we have.
I love it.
We're going to take a quick break. See you on the other side.
Do you like true crime stories?
Do you like to learn about the people behind some horrible, awful crimes?
More specifically, women that may have committed these crimes.
Actually, Indian criminals that are women?
Then we'd like to welcome you to our podcast, Misconduct. My name is Raghavi.
And I am Nisha.
We cover themes like murder, dacoity, drug trafficking, financial fraud, kidnapping, and many more.
You can catch us every Wednesday on the IVM Podcast Network or wherever you get your podcast.
Welcome back. All right, let's jump into the conversation.
This questioning is so important because, like you said, the quality of your life depends on the questions that you ask. And on my desk, I have a whole list of questions that I keep looking at every time I feel stuck or I'm thinking about it. What is the easiest way I could possibly do this? Or, it's different things. What are the things that I'm running away from? What are the things I'm not willing to see? Are there certain questions that are basic ones in Vedanta that people can start thinking about from today onwards?
See, this is the problem. It is not one particular question. It is an attitude of not going with the herd. So whatever you're doing, see, now you are in this field of podcasting or media. You have to question, how can I do it better? When you're with your wife at home, you have to question, why is my relationship not smooth as I want it to be? Why am I disturbed that my children are not doing well or they're doing? What is affecting me? How do I solve it? But you're absolutely right. Even if you ask these questions, where's the material? So I would start with a very simple book to help you ask the right questions. It's called The Fall of the Human Intellect. We talked about intellect, right? So there's a book. It's a very thin, simple book available everywhere, whether it's Amazon or on your iBooks or Google or whatever. It's called The Fall of the Human Intellect. So you have to read it and it'll help you ask the right questions in life. It'll strengthen your intellect. At least start with that. And the second thing you have to do to help you in this process of questioning, which is very important, is you have to get up early in the morning, which I believe nobody wants to hear, but there is no other way. Because why I'm telling you this now, understand that this was known in our culture thousands of years ago. See, early in the morning is a time when your mind is least disturbed by worldly thoughts and anxiety, So it's the best time to strengthen your intellect. Now, what I mean is, you ask a drunkard also early in the morning, will you have a drink? What will he say? No, not now, in the evening. Why? Morning is not... You ask a gambler, let's go to the casino early in the morning. He'll say, morning, are you mad? Let's go in the night. Why? See, early morning it's called the sattvic time, sattva. In fact, I get up every morning at 4 a.m. I don't expect you to get up at 4, but at least 5:15 you can get up, And if you start getting up early, automatically you'll sleep early. But that 45 minutes, 1 hour in the morning is when you should do your questioning. So get up early in the morning. I've given you 2 specific things to do and read The Fall of the Human Intellect. Start with that. My guru's written 11 books, but you can start with this very simple book and that will provoke you to grow your intellect.
Amazing. This is a fantastic starting point for us to at least start examining and questioning and moving towards this life that you're talking about. Are there other important principles that we should keep in mind when we're thinking about Vedanta that you can, explain a little bit about right now?
Yeah, of course. See, the other thing, but what I did not explain, we didn't get to that, is people will be thinking who are hearing this or watching this talk, right? Don't I already have an intellect? I am a highly educated person. I went to this IIT. In fact, I spoke to the IIT alumni group worldwide last week, not last week, 2 weeks ago. And they were shocked. IIT is more difficult to get into Harvard than Harvard, as you guys know. And they've been living all their lives. They said, we didn't know the difference. Intelligence, intellect. So You may be educated in the best schools. That is called intelligence. That is not intellect. So don't think because you're educated, you have an intellect. See, there's a person I know here in New Jersey. He's a brilliant doctor, brilliant. He knows everything about medicine. But he just lost his license because of alcoholism. Alcoholic. You see the difference, what I'm saying? He's a very intelligent person. Intelligence means you're well educated, a lot of information. Intellect means the ability to control your own emotion. They're two different things. So first thing you must learn is intelligence is not intellect. Intelligence you get from outside, from schools and universities. Intellect you have to get on your own. And that is what Vedanta is for. To help you get your intellect back, to help you and then help the next generation get their intellect. Vedanta is the only way. I'm not fanatic about Vedanta, but that has the principles of living for thousands of years. They're just principles. It's not a religion. It's not a particular person's opinion. These are eternal principles. So look at it like that. First of all, I don't have an intellect. It's not intelligence. Second thing you're asking is look at it as the principles of living. About 12 years or 13 years ago, I was invited to a big Wall Street bank. One of their partners knows me and he said, you must talk to all my colleagues. So I get a call from their HR, their human resources. This lady calls, she's all agitated. She's like, we really want to have you here, but we have strict policy against religion. Is this something religious? I said, she said, I'm personally very interested, but I don't know how to portray this to my boss for approval, So I said, very simple, tell him this. He said, Newton discovered gravity. She says, yes. Newton was a Christian. She says, I think so. Does gravity apply only to Christians? She says, of course not. I said, similarly, there are certain principles. Gravity is a physical principle that applies to all human beings. Doesn't matter who found it. There are certain mental, intellectual principles. Stress, productivity, purpose, fulfillment. These are principles of the mind. Just because they were found in the Himalayas thousands of years ago doesn't make it Indian, right? These are eternal principles. So these are the things to think about. Look, I don't have an intellect. And there are principles on how to get it. The last thing I would say in terms of you're asking what are the things we have to consider is we all start from the wrong end in life, right from the beginning. Now, what I mean is, if I ask you, you won't tell me in public, guys. Then suppose I ask you to have a private conversation, right? And I ask you, what stresses you out, man? What will you tell me? When I say you, anybody, say everything is perfect, but that wife of mine, everything is perfect, but the boss, my neighbor, here you go, now it's cold, right? This morning was below zero here. Oh, it's cold. The weather is bad. And then I go to a place with nice weather like LA, they'll be complaining traffic. Morning, noon, night, they complain traffic there, right? What is this? You see what I'm saying? What is the common thread in all this? Everything is wrong with the world. I am okay. And that is far, far from the truth. Does anybody say, what is wrong with me that I'm not able to handle this situation? Does anybody say that?
Mm-hmm. It's blame.
It's blame. All the time blaming the outside world. But the truth is, it is not the world that can give you peace or stress. It is how you relate to it. It is your relationship with the world. So you have to learn how to relate. See, what I mean is, I'll give you an example. I was, this is about 5 years ago, I was invited to Peru, I speak to this very prestigious group. It's the world's largest CEO group. It's called YPO. Mm-hmm. And it's a CEO organization. And I speak to them here in North America, Latin America, all the time. And so they invited me to Peru for they're having a retreat there in the Sacred Valley, near a beautiful place, absolutely magnificent. And we were in this resort and I was walking around, my morning walk, beautiful walk. I was just enjoying it. And I came around and I was near the entrance of the resort. And this lady just rushes out, and she's looking for something frantically in her purse. I thought she's having an allergic reaction because she was so I went a little close to her to see and help. And by the time I got there, she had taken out a packet of cigarettes and she smoked it. And she looked so peaceful. Oh. And at the same time, another man walks by and he looks at her with such disgust that in a beautiful health resort like this, you're smoking a cigarette. You see what I'm saying? The cigarette is the same object. It gives so much pleasure to one person, so much stress to another person. So it's not the cigarette, right? It's how you relate to it. And yet that person will say it's the cigarette which gives me stress. Another person will say it's that which gives me pleasure. There's no such thing. One man wants to divorce his wife. Another man is waiting equally desperately for the divorce so he can marry that woman, right? It can happen, no? It happens so many times.
All the time.
All the time. See, didn't happen to you, no? Huh?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. So, see, you see the philosophy there. That one person is saying she's the cause of all my stress. Another person is saying she'll give me the maximum happiness. So it's not the person. It's not the person. It's not the world. It's how you relate to it. So Vedanta is the art of relating to the world. You have to learn it. As I started this interview, you've got to learn how to relate. You understand?
Beautiful. Absolutely. One last question for this particular episode is, what is the role of, since we're on the Habit Coach podcast, I have to ask this because I haven't found this anywhere else. What is the role of habit in the way Vedanta is taught? What are the idea or concept of habits around it?
See, a habit is nothing but a tendency which you have developed because of repeated thinking in the past. You must understand that. So let's say you never smoked before, right? And you're 17 or 16 or whatever, your friends are smoking, you started. Your thought goes to the cigarette. Let me also try. Then you smoke it for the first time, you go home. What happens after a day? Oh, I'd like to smoke it again. Your thought goes there again. There's no intellect controlling. So habits are formed by the mind repeatedly going to that object without intellectual supervision. So right now, the desire or thought has become so strong over years and years, and you call it my habit, my addiction, So you can use the same principle to develop better habits, which is with the intellect. See, if the intellect is developed, you can control the negative habits and develop positive ones. See, for example, simple thing is the exercise, You've developed a habit of lazing because you've never worked on your physical exercise. So your intellect understands, look, you've got to exercise and you can negate that habit. So Vedanta is nothing but inculcating the positive habits with the intellect.
Beautiful.
So remember this law of life. As you think, so you become. In Sanskrit, it says, Ya mati sa gati. As you think, that you become. So your current habits are nothing but your thoughts in the past. So this habit coach, right? That's what you're called. Habit coach is the intellect. Now you know today, after all these years, what your heading means.
Correct.
It means intellect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, I keep telling people that don't start a habit unless you know exactly why you're doing it. And we have a process of asking why 3 times. So you ask why, get an answer, ask why, get an answer, ask why, get an answer. And you reach that point that is extremely personal to you. And only once you question these things should you even begin to think about forming that habit or not. So it is not a habit that you pick up randomly, but it's a very conscious choice that you make, because ultimately those are the choices that will, like you rightly said, are going to create your future.
Right.
You are right now with the choices of your past, but your future is created by the choices that you'll be making from now onwards. So absolutely, I love the way that you distinguish the two. The habits that we have formed just like that are mind habits, but the ones that we have formed with conscious thought are intellect habits.
Correct. See, the problem is the intellect is not developed at all. So everybody is a slave of their mind. Einstein says a beautiful quote. You cannot solve your problems with the same thinking that created those problems.
Yes.
Or what habit you're doing. So you have a particular thought pattern which has created your present problem. With that same thought pattern, you can't solve that problem. Again, you'll be back to square one. This is what happens to everybody. They are trying to solve their problems, like you're saying, question with what? They already have a wrong pattern of thinking. It's not going to change. So you need external help to change your thinking, right? And that's Vedanta. It gives you the material to have the right thinking available to you.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I loved having this discussion with you, Gautamji. Thank you so much for coming on the Habit Coach podcast. How can people get in touch with you, continue this conversation with you so that, they can learn more about Vedanta?
See, those of you who are in the western part of the world, because I believe you guys have listeners from all over the world.
All over the world, yes.
Anybody from the US, this part of the world, you can go to our website, which is meant for here. It's called VedantaUSA.org. Vedanta, Vedanta, everybody knows Vedanta, USA.org. And those who are in India or different parts of the world, not in America, they can go to VedantaWorld.org. So it's very simple. Vedanta World for everywhere else other than the US. Otherwise, go to VedantaUSA.org. And that's where you'll see what we do, our lectures, the books. We also have, for the serious people, e-learning courses, they can enroll for. So there's a lot of material. The point is, people are not even aware of this magnificent knowledge that has existed for thousands of years. I told the IIT group, you call Indian Institute of Technology. The real Indian technology is Vedanta. IIT are only teaching what they've been discovered everywhere else. But what is original to India is Vedanta, which the whole world needs it badly.
Absolutely.
Because you've seen what's happening to the world.
No intellect. Lovely.
No intellect at all. Correct.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
So start these habits and share with us your progress using the hashtag #TheHabitCoach. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am Ashtin Doc on Twitter and Instagram. You can find lots more information on my website, awesome180.com, or check out different content on my YouTube channel called AWESOME180. That's Awesome180.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. Do you think coffee is a good pre-workout drink? Hear what Arman Sood, co-founder of Sleepy Owl Coffee, has to say about it, only on Raw and Organic with Kunal Rajput. We are back with a new capsule series on the Feeding 10 Billion podcast. In this 6th episode series, host Varun Deshpande speaks to famed personalities about the future of smart protein. Tune in to hear what Indra Nui, Ritesh and Janelia Deshmukh and other amazing guests have to say. On Tere Mere Raaste, Keshor recounts an adventure. Hear how he traveled more than 1,100 kilometers from Lucknow to New Jalpaiguri in merely 21 hours. I can't believe anybody did that in India. Definitely will listen to that story. On Hans Vani, hear the story of Matsyagandha. Discover how lovers Batahu and Sursati are torn apart by fate. On Smarter with Sid, Sid learns 3 ways to pitch a new idea to reluctant team members. And on Paisa Vaisa, Amit Gainda, CEO, Avance Financial Limited, talks to Anupam about educational loans. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Go check out our YouTube channels. We go live on a whole bunch of different things. We have a number of different channels. You can find them on ivmpodcast.com/YouTube. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week: Cred, Bank of Baroda, CoinSwitch Kuber, Intel, and Oxfam India. Thank you for making this possible.
If you're a cricket fan, check out Edges and Sledges, India's favorite cricket podcast.
The podcast focuses on Indian cricket, the IPL, and has a ton of banter both on and off the field.
We talk about the week's biggest cricket stories with current and ex-international cricketers, coaches, or sometimes just between us.
And it's hosted by me, DJ.
Me, Varun.
And me, Ashwin.
New episodes release every week.
You can catch us on the IVM Podcast's website, app,
or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Check out the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast.